The weeks injured Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer spent away from his children, his home, and his fellow Highway Patrol colleagues comes to a close. His journey home began Wednesday afternoon in Salt Lake City. Reporter Don Hudson brings us the emotional celebration from the University of Utah Hospital.
You've all been so amazing. Without all of you, we wouldn't be able to go home today.
Lindsay Palmer choked up as she thanked surgeons for helping her husband survive and begin his recovery after being shot in March.
You gave us the fighting chance we needed to get through this.
And she thanked the Utah law enforcement community for all their help and support.
To each and every one of you who took a watch outside our door, to the continuous times I needed a friendly ear to listen to me talk, someone was always there to lean on.
Leadership with the Montana Highway Patrol and Montana's Attorney General also shared their appreciation to the U of U Hospital and the people and police of Utah.
I'm not sure that words can ever express the gratitude from the Montana Highway Patrol for the help that's been and the support that's been given to him.
On behalf of the people of Montana, thank you, Utah. We love you.
Trooper Palmer can walk and communicate, but he's lost his ability to speak because of the gunshot wound to his head. But those who have been around the 35-year-old for the past couple of months are hopeful he will continue to improve.
Wade hasn't left my thoughts. Every morning it's one of the first things I think of, and every night it's one of the last things I think of before I go to sleep. And I'm just so happy that he's in the position he's in today, because when this occurred, it did not look that promising.
After the news conference, Trooper Palmer and his wife were escorted to the airport. They were greeted by the Fraternal Order of Police here in Utah and helped into a private plane to make their return to Montana. A short trip home with a long recovery ahead.
I don't know where we would be without everything you have done for us. You made this scary time for my family and myself a little less scary.
And that trip continued when he touched down in Missoula. Swaths of supporters lined the streets from the airport to downtown. Lines especially packed around St. Patrick Hospital, the first place where Palmer was treated after the attack. Many of those supporters were the same people who worked to save his life on March 15th. The community of Stevensville showed its support for the hometown hero. Many of the people lining the streets there have personal connections with the family. The crowd cheered as the procession passed. People were lined up all the way through town. The community letting the Palmers know they are not alone. Back here in Billings, police are asking for the public's help to find a missing man. 27-year-old Byron Barber was last seen on Monday. His cell phone has not been active since, and he also hasn't shown up for work. Barber drives a 2012 Volkswagen Golf with a personalized license plate. If anyone knows anything about Barber's location, they are asked to call the Billings Police non-emergency line. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is doing some digging to figure out who exactly owns fossils found in the state of Montana. Back in the summer of 2006, preserved fossils of dueling dinosaurs were found on the Murray Ranch in Garfield County. The Murrays own the land, but most of the mineral rights belong to out-of-state companies, and neither party made a contingency for any fossils found on the property. This led to back-and-forth legal battles over who owns fossils and what fossils are even classified as under Montana law. In 2016, a Montana district court ruled that the landowners were the sole owners of the dinosaur fossils. However, the mineral title holders appealed to the Ninth Circuit, which overruled the district court's decision. The judges say it's because fossils are minerals because of their elemental compositions. The case's next step could be the Montana Supreme Court for a decision. This year, Governor Steve Bullock signed a bill that declares that fossils are not minerals and that they belong to the landowners. However, because this law was signed after these court proceedings, it's unclear whether the law applies retroactively. Governor Steve Bullock is heading back to Iowa next week for his second trip to the Hawkeye State since announcing his candidacy for president. Bullock will make 4 stops in northern and central Iowa on Tuesday, May 28th. Bullock is hoping to gain an edge in a field made up of nearly 24 Democratic hopefuls. The governor announced his candidacy last week and then headed to Iowa for 3 days of campaigning on the eastern side of the state. Two government agencies coming together to help small businesses in eastern Montana. The Small Business Administration now has a satellite office with the Department of Agriculture. It's a first in the country for the USDA and the SBA. A ribbon cutting celebrated the combined office at the USDA Service Center on Wednesday. The agencies chose Billings because 99% of businesses in Montana are small.
Every rural community is driven by small businesses, and so we're just bringing these services to help those small businesses. And when you think about it, agriculture needs the businesses in their community to survive.
Certainly in a state like Montana with a multi-billion-dollar agricultural industry, combined with the fact that 99% of all businesses in the state are small businesses, we have high hopes for this operation and really think that Montana is the perfect starting place for this kind of shop.
The new office is a satellite for the SBA Montana District Office in Helena. And wrapping up our news on this Thursday, Montana no longer has a hub to facilitate honor flights. So one local veteran's family pulled out all the stops to get him to Washington, D.C. so he could see the memorials and landmarks in the nation's capital, honoring himself and others. Q2's Jenny Fick has a story.
Headquarters companies, 9th Division, 2nd Infantry.
This is Stanley Antilla. He served in the Korean War and just returned home from an honor flight.
My daughter Cheryl ended up giving me a trip for myself and her son Troy Shockley.
He mentioned in October, you know, I'd kind of like to go. Okay, so let's start. He doesn't mention it unless it's important.
So his family decided to make it happen.
Started digging around. There's no hub here in Montana, and I thought, well, then do we send him to another state? I have a son that lives in Washington State. Then I found Jane Julian and the Lone Eagle, which is the program for states that don't have hubs.
Southwest Airlines helps facilitate the flights. Each veteran is required to be accompanied by a guardian. The cost for them to attend is $450.
Of course, there's no cost for the veterans.
The group got celebrity treatment with police escorts for their bus and countless people approaching them for photos and to thank them.
It's important to me that other veterans get the chance to be able to go because it's an aging population.
Honor flights take Vietnam, Korea, and World War II veterans on a full scheduled tour of major monuments.
Lincoln, Vietnam, and Korean memorials.
They also got to witness the changing of the guard and experience the Iwo Jima Memorial and the Navy Memorial and Museum.
Seen the Korean memorial on there, and that's one that I really wanted to see.
The Korean one really impacted because that's where he served.
The memorial also features a United Nations wall, as well as a platoon of 19 steel soldiers representing the 4 branches of the military.
And the facial features on each one of them is the same as one of the guys in the squad.
A haunting tribute to those gone and those still here.
Certain time on there and the light hits it just right. It looks like those guys on that wall are actually coming out of the wall.
The honor flights also just bring together a group that understands what the other has gone through.
And they could share, and they just sat and talked quietly.
Seen lots of different things, lots of different people, and just basically had a good time all the way through.
The flights are a way for the country to give something back to those who are willing to give everything.
Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met.
In Billings, Jenny Fick, MTN News.
And to get more information on the Lone Eagle program or honor flights, you can contact Jane Julian at 614-558-6220. Shockley encourages urgency as a limited number of flights are done yearly. And for a list of upcoming flights, you can visit ktvq.com.